I go 9, that means it's on the upper echelon of the movies I've seen in my entire life.
But then what's the difference between a 9 and a 10? I mean,
there's no 10.
There's
no 10.
Yeah,
so you guys subscribe to the no such thing as a 10. I don't believe in that.
Perfection is...
There's no such thing as perfection.
You're always chasing
See,
perfection.
but if a
and that's the
professor
goal.
didn't give you 100 or an A and didn't give you...
Well, this isn't school. This is grading a movie. It's totally different.
This is
we're not rating it off of like you're answering questions and you got them right
That's
or wrong.
your opinion. My opinion is you have to be able to rate something a 10, or what the fuck is it there for?
So let's go ahead and go into that, Chris. What was your score and what was your take on the movie?
So, when I saw the movie, I really didn't even care to see it. I don't have this huge affinity towards Batman. But I was very pleasantly surprised. That was I don't care about any of these actors really. Colin Farrell's pretty cool. But every one of them impressed me. They developed 3 really strong villains. Like every one of those villains was good in its own way. Falcone and that actor that plays him, John Turturro, I think his name is.
You don't fuck with the Jesus.
The Jesus.
Nobody fucks
Great
with the
actor.
Jesus.
You said it, man.
He played a good villain. I liked his character. The Penguin,
awesome.
Everybody agrees he was a great portrayal. And there were points where he was even a little bit of like comedic, because I think Joe, you might have said that there wasn't any comedy in it. And I like that because, Marvel is always throwing in their little jokes and everybody's laughing and having a good time. And for me, I feel like DC's like, no, we're not fucking around. We're not having fun here. This sucks, but we're going to get through it. And it's fucking crazy. And, but the little bit that was there was the Penguin kind of just when he's left there, like, you're going to fucking leave me here. That was great. And then the Riddler too, man. I thought he did a fantastic job. That's what domestic extremism looks like nowadays to a degree. That whole internet aspect, how people are like watching him on the internet and cheering him on. Like I thought that was kind of cool.
Very relevant.
I did call it with the Zodiac Killer. I thought that was, it was very
QAnon.
I said in the other episode, I did a report on the Zodiac Killer, and like a lot of that stuff is right. The ciphers, all of that shit, and the way that it really did. I mean, he brought terrorizing the city to a whole nother level. He literally fucking flooded the entire city. But
Gotham Square Garden.
But yeah, Madison Square. That Rob was next to me. I started laughing when they had Gotham Square Garden. It's such a fucking cheap knockoff Madison Square Garden. I know.
It's supposed to relate it to.
That's
reality.
the thing too with Gotham. I always kind of looked at Gotham as like you guys all say crazy, but I always saw it as kind of like a Detroit or Chicago. I never really saw it as New York City. I saw it as a mix, like a little bit of New York City.
No, it's absolutely New York City.
I didn't really see any other ones. I kind of just got like this.
No. The allegory was supposed to be that Gotham was Manhattan by night and Metropolis is Manhattan by day. That's really what it's supposed to be. But their actual New York City exists.
I mean, I guess compared to like Spider-Man, where
Gotham
it
isn't New York.
Yeah, like compared to Spider-Man, where it is Manhattan, you know what I mean? But that's always the vibes I got, but this felt like a very New York kind of...
I think that's why I preferred Marvel as a kid, too. Like, I love Batman singularly from DC, but I love the Marvel comics more, and I always have, and I still do, because they're playing in our backyard. They're in our cities doing, stuff in our world,
it's New York,
as opposed to these, fictitious cities like Bloodhaven and Gotham and Metropolis and Star City, and none of those places exist.
Right.
So
but despite all of
fantasy.
that, what I really appreciated about this one was it was, in a lot of ways, very grounded in reality. It was not, this blockbuster Marvel film that you're saying, like, you'll go and see Spider-Man over and over again. But they didn't take nearly as many liberties. And, as I've said in one of the first episodes, I always find when I watch these Marvel movies that there's just so many plot holes that I'm like, why would he do that when he could have just done this? But this was so grounded in reality. When he goes running, we already mentioned when he jumps off the building with the wingsuit and he crashes. Like, that shows that he doesn't develop the skills yet to do this right. And I think over the next few movies, you're going to see him eventually start to be able to soar and get the hang of that shit. Mm-hmm. But that was probably his first time doing it, and he fucking fell, and then he just gets up. He's like,
I've never seen Iron Man 1.
And then he like kind of just gets up and walks away. But the other thing that I really liked, I turned to John and I said, fucking awesome. What I really thought was cool was just, he wasn't flying around. He ran down the side of a building. He like rappelled down the side of a building.
Yep.
I thought that was cool when he had that thing and he was just running down.
Yep.
And that's kind of grounded to a degree in reality, and I appreciated that.
It's almost reminiscent of the original Iron Man movie, where like it's before Marvel got into the real fantasy, and they're like, "This is a movie that could actually happen." Like,
Right. They showed how he
genius
made
guy creates, like,
Iron
some
Man
kind
from
of
the
like
ground
suit
up.
and
He hadn't
stuff,
gotten all the kinks out yet.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Reactor.
Yeah.
It's gritty. It's in the ground. We don't have superheroes getting involved. It's a guy with his knowledge and his ability against whatever threat he's facing.
Right. And then I like too that I thought that Alfred portrayed pretty good. I'm so used to seeing the
Andy
old
Serkis,
yeah, I'm so used to like the old British Alfred, and see kind of like a younger one. I like that whole arc. Catwoman was great. I feel like they did a good job developing like every single character that they put in that. And as far as Robert Pattinson goes as Batman, like for me, what more can you ask him to do? Like
Batman was great.
The voice, I can agree with that.
I didn't say his
think
Batman
about
was
that.
an issue.
I enjoyed the
emo
different
Bruce Wayne?
kind of Bruce Wayne because I'm kind of tired of seeing the playboy billionaire. Everybody treated him the same way. Everybody still was starstruck when they saw him.
Yeah.
But like that's Christian Bale's Batman. You know what I mean? This I'm a rich party. Like I like the idea that he's kind
Not
of like
necessarily,
awkward and a
Chris.
little.
He's developing into it.
Michael Keaton did not have a charismatic Bruce Wayne. In the first Batman, when he's hosting the party, when he's hosting like the casino night,
He had his way about
but
him.
he's
though.
very awkwardly moving around. He doesn't really know. Champagne. Yeah, I know what you mean. He did have
You could
flair
feel
to
his
him.
heartbeat though. You can feel he had a certain.
Oh yeah,
like,
no, again,
yeah.
not trying to do the full blown
It
comparison.
almost like his
but
head was down
there's
the
an-
whole time he was Bruce Wayne in this movie.
I'm with Chris on
And-
this
and-
too, though.
And here's the thing too: as you make a movie that's relatable to your audience, we have a young, awkward youth out there that
Jesus
is
Christ.
19, not sociable, doesn't really connect.
Awkward.
He's isolated. He's in his basement. He's working on the engines. He's tuning. He's like he said. I spent the
Doesn't have
last 2
friends to
years
speak of,
at night. I've spent these last 2 years in the dark. He's wearing sunglasses because he's fucking
Mhm.
completely disconnected.
Maybe he was
I
that
have
kind
some
of
things
happy,
to point out,
charismatic
but-
guy beforehand, but
just to kind of defend
maybe
that.
right now he's not because he's been kind of doing this shit and he's in a funk.
He's
He's
busy.
he's a recluse, and he didn't have anyone to grow up with other than his butler. And
Right.
a butler can only be so much of a father figure in the case of.
and he tried to
Yeah,
neglect
Well, it's
and
his
deny
fault.
him
He's got
as
a lot of
well.
money. He can go out and do whatever he wants.
when you're young though, and you don't know any better. Yeah, you have the money, but you're not going to know how to use it.
He's 30.
Well, he should be.
It's
I
a
feel like
developing
he's,
from
20, he should be like, I don't know. I don't. they didn't
27,
put-
28, right?
I was thinking 24,
He-
25.
No way.
He'll
I was,
have
thinking, I was thinking young, but I don't know.
I think that the movie tried to show though that he's learning slowly. Somebody mentioned this afterwards that there's the divide between I think you mentioned it. The divide between
Vince said
Batman and Bruce Wayne. One of you two.
And
Robert
sometimes he can
Vin.
get more done as Bruce Wayne than he's going to get done
and
as
that's
Batman.
when he's going to start to learn that he needs to be
So-
charismatic
right.
and
There
a
was-
little
there
more
was
What's
social.
great
three
about that
points.
in the Batman animated series too, because they showed that off where
Yeah.
like Bruce Wayne would get into places that Batman couldn't.
Yeah.
Appreciate that in the movie too.
I thought a cool development point was he goes to that same doorway with those stupid twins that answer the door and like, what are you doing? Right?
Iceberg Lounge.
And it's actually 3 times that he goes to the door. The first time he's Batman and he gets into a fight, kicks the shit out of them. Second time he goes there and he's Bruce Wayne and they're like, oh, cool. And they let him in. And the third time he just sneaks right past him and closes the door and locks him out. And I thought that was cool. I looked at that as like some sort of development. As far as what I want going forward, I think that he will kind of turn into that. He'll, as almost like a persona, Bruce Wayne will be another persona of him. It won't really be himself, but maybe he will become that playboy kind of millionaire guy as time goes on.
It's as if they know they would have 3 of these movies.
Right.
I hope
You know
so.
what I'm saying?
I
Like,
really hope
it's-
so.
They
They're
definitely
writing it
left
in a way that
open-ended.
says,
I really hope
hey,
so.
we're going to have at least 2 or 3 of these. So there is going to be, I think, a larger character arc for Bruce and a better development because we got a pretty good one with Christopher Nolan. We did finally see the origins of Batman, which was something that was left out of every movie and you could only read in the comics, right? His initial contact with Ra's al Ghul and the training and all of that. Like, they're not doing that in this, but you could see where from Batman Begins to Dark Knight, how he evolved. We'll definitely see that evolution
Yeah.
hopefully he can bring a little more charisma.
Yeah.
I think he can. He's Robert Pattinson, for
Yeah.
Christ's sakes. Like, he's been in Harry Potter.
Sweet, you're sticking with your
just like
score on
Bruce, just like Batman needs to get better at being Batman. Bruce is, I think, going to get better at being that version of Bruce. So, I'm gonna stick with the 9.4. I definitely think I would watch it again, and I think it's because I had such low expectations that I just expected not to like it, and it really did surprise me. And I'm gonna stick with the 9.4.
Nice. Strong.
What do you got, Vin?
So, any movie that opens up with Something in the Way by Nirvana is going to have a tone. You open up a movie with Nirvana.
I enjoy that.
That's
song.
the theme.
Forgot about
Kurt
that.
Cobain, that grunge. This is a grunge movie. It's very gritty and dark.
always raining.
It's always raining. It's always wet. It's claustrophobic almost, and not to a negative place, but you're tight with the character. You're tight with Batman. They have a few scenes where you see him. What is it? One of the times he uses the zip line, and they use a camera shot that's on him, on his face, and as he zooms up, or the time he runs down the wall. They made it like you're very close with him. You're like that's the whole idea is the detective work. You're not observing what Batman's doing. You are with him on that ride. Whereas, let's say I hear you guys keep saying it and I'm rocking it. Marvel. The best part about this is we've been asking for this. DC kept trying to do Marvel. They can't. Stop. Do this. Right. This is what we want because it fills a gap of content. I don't need everything to be Marvel. I know what I'm going into when I go see Marvel movies. Fun, great one-liners, lots of humor, cheering moments where you want to jump out of your seat, build up over the course of, a few movies where there's a payoff you're expecting.
Right.
I don't go into this movie with that expectation. So it's legitimately the problem I have is I'm ranking this against the other DC shit that's come out over the last decade. So when I say 9.0 on my initial reaction, I have fucking Justice League and this other stuff that I consider to be crap compared to this movie. You know what I mean? So I'm always kind of rating on a relative scale, but I understand Joe's point where, yeah, when you get into the whole frame and you pull back to greatest movies of all time, where does it fall? I agree with the assessment that it might not be a 9 to me if I scaled it against every other movie I've ever seen, but in the DC realm of things, and the comic book realm, it's definitely a solid 9. On, the grand scale of things, 8.7, 8.5, very fair. It's a long movie. It's 3 hours, but I never felt it slow down. So as opposed to the payoff moments that Marvel provides, there was a lot of build-up to this. I felt the build-up, and the only thing that disappoints me, and some friends of mine also have this opinion and this kind of way to go about it, they showed too much in the trailers. They gave away big payoff moments, big payoff shots to build hype around the movie, because of course everybody right away is like, Robert Pattinson's Batman, another Batman. It's that same reaction. So
I stopped watching trailers after Batman, Superman ruined like everything for us. Showing Wonder Woman, showing Doomsday. It's like, well, I need to see the movie now. The whole entire plot is ruined. The whole entire get at the end of the movie is the surprise at the end is ruined.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're 100%.
With trailers, less is more. And
as I get older, I start to
no more trailers. Just give us teasers. That's it.
Yeah, and even I hate to keep saying Marvel shit, but Marvel gives the red herrings. They'll show scenes that maybe aren't in there, or they even build them to throw you off, which can be smart. So again, there was just like 3 major ones. The fight with the hallway gunfight scene where they're shooting the machine guns at Batman. Awesome. Such a amazing use of lighting and cinematography, I guess, stuff that's a little above my head. But when I watched that movie, actually, it's kind of reminiscent of the first half of like the original Matrix. It really makes me think of the Trinity scene in the apartment, the use of the flashlights to light the scene and really dark corners and shit. So I did appreciate a lot of that, and the difference, just the contrast to what we're experiencing when we see a Spider-Man, No Way Home. And of course I look forward to Doctor Strange equally. So, but there's just room for both. It's not verses. It's not, This is
I'm
great.
not comparing them to
No,
Marvel at
no.
all.
How about that car
You
chase
see that
scene,
a lot.
though?
It's a common thing, and of course, it strikes a headline. DC versus Marvel, whatever.
The car chase was great, but it was ruined in the trailer.
They blew it in the trailer.
They did blow it in the
100%.
trailer,
I
but
was
It was great.
gripping, like my fists were clenched during that because, like,
yeah,
when he's revving up the Batmobile and the hall or the heli,
Yeah.
and there's that tension and
Yeah.
that build up, and it was ruined by the fact that I knew what
already
was
saw it.
coming, and I was like, shit, man, this would be even better. But they did a really good
I'm
job
glad I
at
didn't watch
that.
the trailers because that didn't get ruined.
yeah.
didn't?
They
It
did a
didn't?
very
That's
good
cool.
job with the sensory overload, like the, like
Yeah.
just the lights, the rain, like
Explosions,
like
fucking-
just blurs. Like that's really what car chase would kind of look like. Just this overwhelming of the senses, and you're just trying to get the fuck through it.
And it matches Batman so well. That's what Batman is. That's what is great about '89 Batman. That's a gritty city. That is like old school '70s New York, like drugs,
With
crack,
cell
whatever.
phones.
Just absolute disaster.
I did appreciate the relationship between him and Gordon, though.
I
Commissioner Gordon, that was great. When he pulls out the gun, he's like, "No guns." He's like, "That's a you
That's
thing,
your
man."
thing,
It felt like good cop, bad cop in a lot of ways.
Exactly. But that's
They
what
did that a few
Commissioner
times.
You
Gordon.
couldn't tell who was
and
good cop or bad
It was
cop.
annoying me that it wasn't happening, and then it finally happened towards the end of the movie where Commissioner Gordon's talking to him, and he turns around and Batman's gone. Because you have to expect it now with so many iterations of Batman. He's got to disappear on Gordon.
It's funny you say that
just
too.
an iconic scene.
There are some expectations with Batman and Bruce Wayne,
Yeah.
I think, and they did not do certain ones because I believe it's part of an arc that they're going to get to. He did do it like one time. He disappeared.
It's like Avengers Assemble. Like you want it so bad, and they'll
Right.
just
I
keep
want
kiting
Joe
you along
Batman,
until you deserve it.
but it was great to see him kind of hesitate at the jump and be like, "Oh shit, this is high," or not so graceful landing. I really did appreciate too the believability. You said Iron Man 1, where the gadgets and all the gizmos, it's grounded in a reality where it feels like, oh yeah, this could happen. Like this is a Batman. I said it to you, right? I was like, he's wearing fucking cargo pants for
Yeah,
God's sakes.
yeah.
Combat boots.
It's legitimately just the stage one
The rookie.
Batman. He's not even confident in himself. He's not even sure if he's doing the right thing. I really liked what you said, Chris, too, about the two meetings at the door, because I think that presented to the character his ability to do more as Bruce, and he wasn't understanding that before. Also, the thing with the money being used to pay for all the crime was actually like out of the Wayne fund, and he was neglecting all of it. He was like, I don't care about the money. The accountants were trying to reach out to him, and he's not taking their call. So I'm hoping.
I think he's going to take a hold of that now.
Yeah,
now that he knows that
exactly.
renewal was used to pretty much fuck up the city, and it is the family legacy. They alluded to that when he met with the mayor, and she's like, I want to talk to you about this, and
You'll be doing
next
more.
time we're going to talk about it again.